What's going on, everybody? Matt Zeiss here on Long Island, New York at Vincenzo's. Garrett here, the owner, is going to show me how to make authentic New York style pizza so I can take this recipe back to Sweden and hopefully bring everybody there a nice New York slice. Let's get into it.
Let's do it, boys and girls. Maybe cut that part. Let's go.
Now I'm going to keep it. How long do you let dough sit and rise? Now I've seen some people say 24 hours. I've seen some people say 72 hours.
Yeah. So the proofing process really varies. You want at least 24 hours. Yeah. That's ideal. Some places have proofing boxes. Some places don't have a proofing box.
What does that mean?
So like a proofer, it's just mainly just a box where you put all the dough in, and it's just it's a space where the dough is in one temperature.
Okay.
You can set the temperature, and then it'll just allow it to naturally proof, as opposed to if you leave it in the cold, in the walk-in, which gets down to 40 degrees, 41 degrees, you're gonna shock the dough, and you kind of stunt its growth. So like,
and what does that do to the texture of the dough?
Yeah, so I mean, you can do straight from cold. You have to wait a little bit longer. So you might get some bubbles in there. It might not rise as much or as even. Sometimes it might not brown as well. It all depends, but you can definitely do straight from. We do it a lot too.
Yeah.
Especially when it gets busier.
Of course.
So we'll kind of just, take out some dough and we'll use it within. We'll speed it up. We'll speed up the process by putting it on top of the oven and everything.
Do you notice a difference in the outcome?
You can kind of see a difference, but not much. People will say that if the dough is too cold, you'll shock it if you stretch it too much.
Yeah.
So you don't want to shock it. So that's why you'll see people, they'll let the dough sit a little while.
So now I just watched you make however many doughs that was, and so those go in the fridge.
So those will sit out for about an hour and a half.
Okay.
Depending, like if it's hot out, then we won't keep it out as long.
Sure.
But since it's a little bit colder, we'll keep it out a little bit longer, so it'll get that initial proof, and then we'll put it away. It's a little cold in the walk-in, so we'll take it out in the morning, or we'll take it out and try and take it out like an hour or two before we're going to use it. So this way it'll cool down, it'll proof up a little bit, it'll rise a little bit more. But these doughs are perfect. They're nice and fluffy. So you see how it's got a nice little concave.
Yeah.
So first we take it out. You can do a little shimmy, so you don't mess up the integrity of like the roundness. Flour both sides. Press it down a little bit while you're getting the flour on there. Now, the New York style pizza is usually known for a thinner crust, crispy on the bottom. So like a lot of people, when they make their pie, they'll form the crust as they're making the pie. You'll see that, and then they'll work the pie out. For my pizzas, I don't shape out a crust at all. I'll just press out the dough. So basically what you want to do is your hands are going to work in unison, right? So you're going to work from the top around, and you're going to meet in the middle. You work out and around. And the key is you want to try and keep a little bit of a hill in the middle over here. You won't get, it'll stay nice and firm in the middle. I like a nice thin crust, so I don't shape a crust at all. Basically what I'll do is I'll use the sauce and the cheese to weigh down, and then whatever isn't covered with sauce and cheese will naturally
form the crust.
A little bit of a crust. So you won't get a crazy fat crust, but you still get a little bit of a nice crust on there.
And this is for what, a typical 18-inch?
This is an 18-inch pizza, yep. I forgot to flip it because I was talking, but you want to flip it a little bit and then work both sides. Try and get it as even as possible. But when you go outside of, like in Italy and everything, their pies aren't round.
No.
They're like
oval
and oblong, and they're misshaped and So
now, do you flour this?
Yeah, so we little flour on here, flour on the board.
You didn't put a lot. When I was making pizza at home, I put a ton, and then it looked like my son and I were eating jelly donuts.
If you put too much on the bottom, it doesn't really burn off on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then you don't want to put too much, but you could put a generous amount. Like if you're not comfortable shimmying it off the board, you can put a little bit more.
So now the math of it, you'll hand toss.
Yeah.
And then when you put it on here, if it's within this, you're pretty guaranteed that it's going to be the 18-inch.
Yeah. So. A lot of places will have like a visual aid, and they'll put like a little mark, and they'll be like, this is an 18-inch.
Okay.
I've kind of just like I'm using this. I know this is an 18-inch screen, so like I kind of just was like,
Yeah.
you know, got the visual of this on the board. So
Yep.
I know that if I have this whole top covered,
Then you're good.
and then like I pretty much know that I'm set to go.
Sure.
And you could always work it where like you can, once you put the sauce and the cheese on and it weighs down the dough, you can always work it and pull it out.
Sure.
And you can get it a little bit bigger if it's too small. So yeah, so I like to flip it back and forth. It'll work the pie out a little bit. There's a couple ways you can do it. Like you can do like a stretch and drag motion, kind of like a driving the car.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
Where like either way, your hands are going to be basically like you're driving a car.
Yeah.
You don't want to you're not going to clench your fist. Really.
No.
You're going to keep them kind of open because you want the support of the middle to rest on over here. You can use the surface.
Yeah.
To stop it from drag, like from too much drag.
Smart.
Like natural gravitational pull. Just
so it holds it.
So
a
like
bit.
if I just leave it like this, you can see it'll start
Of
to
course.
stretch.
Yeah.
But if I hold it like this, down
Okay.
more, you can kind of control it out a little
Smart.
bit more, right? So then for the showcase pies, we make them a little bit bigger. Showcase pies are like 22-inch pies or
Okay.
20-inch pies. So you get a nice full slice. On a typical 18-inch pie, it's one full ladle, and then like, like I guess this is like 3/4 of the
Sure.
ladle. And then as you can spread it out, you can always see like if you need a little bit more. Me personally, I like a little bit more of a heavier sauce pie.
Okay.
I feel like it's like you get that nice flavor and like you get, I don't know, just something about a little bit heavier on the sauce. That whole like one bite thing, that stems from old school Italians. Basically what they would do is they would put a little bit of here on the Parmesan and a little bit of oregano directly in the
This
middle.
way your first bite.
This way your first bite is robust, it's tasty, and you're like, damn, that's a good slice.
Okay.
That's where the origins of the one bite
That's cool.
came. I personally will put, I mean, I put it all on the whole thing. This way it's,
And it's,
because I was taught that the first bite should taste just as good as the last bite.
I couldn't agree more. And this is just straight mozzarella.
And well, it's part skim and whole milk. A lot of places will use a blend of part skim and whole milk.
A little Parmesan, little oregano, and it goes under to the cheese.
That's also
Preference?
preference. A lot of people will put the Parmesan on the bottom, and then they'll sprinkle the oregano on top,
Okay.
just for that flavor separation.
Yeah.
Now we got a pizza that we're gonna put in the oven right here. So a little shimmy. As you shimmy, you pull back.